reefs and
everything,
things. The whole sea floor.
Yeah,
and
then once these things come up, they just die in the boat, and then they use them as bait, or they use them as fish food. They use them as something like that. Which is a bit fucked because they do actually, oh no, I'm not even going to say that's stupid. All right, so like you said, 90% of the large predatory fish are actually nearly gone out of our oceans. 90%. The 90% figure was derived from the data from Japanese fishing boats that use...
We love Japanese fishing boats, by the way.
They've done some massive damage.
Thanks, guys.
They use long fishing lines with more than 2,000 baited hooks. More than 2,000 baited hooks on a fishing line, and they're just ripping in schools of marlin and fucking, yellowfin tuna and tuna, swordfish. Swordfish is nearly extinct. I don't know if you like eating that shit, but that's nearly gone. In the 1980s, catches began to decline. The fishing industry complained about proposed regulations, sustainability. That point of the surveys and showed less dramatic decline. So that they got scientists to prove that there's less than dramatic declines as what was predicted. But now we're
less than dramatic. So the decline isn't as fast, but we're still declining.
Yeah, 70%. Or it's like the temperature isn't going up. As
that
fast
much.
It's only a couple of degrees. Fuck it. 70% of the world's marine fish stocks are fully fished, overfished, or completely depleted. 70%. 28% of the world's fisheries are overfished or depleted. Of the 17 largest fisheries around the world, 15% are either maximum exploitation levels or their main resource base, main source of fish is completely extinct. Now, once again, like I was saying with the trees, where's the fact? 97% of the world's largest fisheries are in third world countries. Okay? Alright, so you've got the massive ones in Japan and other countries like this, Australia, but the other ones are third world countries. Okay, so hold on, give me a sec, I'll get it. 20% of the world relies on the protein of fish for their survival.
One in 5 people on the earth.
Yeah, 1 in 5 people.
Fish is their main source of protein.
Fish is the main source of protein. Okay, so you can see the enormity that if we, once again, we start to lose massive amounts of species of fish in the world from the fact that people need to make money to survive and all the rest of it. And it's hard because as soon as you start going sustainability, we need to slow down, we need to do this, there's no growth. Okay, so capitalism doesn't work there. And that's the driving force of the world we live in today.
Yes.
The fact of making money.
When you think about the communities living in places where fish actually is pretty much the only thing to eat, and obviously some things they can grow on shore, but they rely on their ocean. It is their lifeline. And when we overfish the oceans as a global species, these people are the most vulnerable in terms of feeling the effects of that. So once again, there is going to be a community of people from the actions of the world that suffer. And we keep seeing that, everyone's got their issue. Everyone's suffering in some way. There is an environmental problem that is affecting you. Yeah. What is it?
Okay, so from the year 1900, we pulled
Try and find an environmental problem near you.
From the year 1900, we pulled in 3 million tonnes of fish. 3 million to 20 million tonnes of fish. 20 million in the 1950s. Peak, which happened in 1980, and that was 85 million tonnes of fish. Okay, and every year since 1980, we have not been able to pull in that amount of fish, and to the point today, I think it's 25% less than that, which is, if I keep reading.
So the global wild catch yields have been relatively stable for the last few years because it's essentially declining. We are trying harder, but it's...
Each year, 20 to 40 million tonnes of mostly dead fish are thrown back in from the bycatch. And the bycatch is what Tess was talking about before. Is from super trawlers ripping the floor up. So the bycatch, that's 20 to 40 million tonnes of mostly dead fish are just thrown back in because they were an accident. They shouldn't have been... Well, you know, you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, champ. Sort of like what happened with the Iraq War. Sorry.
But there is, I think I saw a graph here. So the wild catch yields are stable and declining, but the fish farms that there are around the world are increasing. Obviously, so there are a lot more fish farms being manufactured,
which has a whole lot of the the whole lot of other the problem. I always saw like fuck it, like because when you don't. Because that's what I think, like, that's what I used to be like. I used to be like, well, fuck it, fish farms. I like salmon and I want a lot of it, but we're running out in the wild, so just fish farms and whatever. So, like, well, what, you have to think about it. And when you do a bit of research, what do salmon eat? Okay. How do they breed in captivity? What do you feed them in captivity? I'm sure they're not eating their natural shit, And the thing is when you keep that many salmon in a small area, I thought about it one day and I thought, do they eat their own shit? Because if they're all eating the food and just shitting, and if you've seen some of these fish farms, they're really packed in. So they're just.
I'm sure they have ways that they filter. They're like a big fish tank, don't they? I'm sure they filter it well.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I reckon there are ways to have a free range fish farm where they're treated nicely.
Some fishes, some are in open water. And some
or just nets around them.
Just nets around them. So it's like unless.
So then, what are you fucking talking about?
Well, no, that's what I'm talking about. And it may be if there's a filter, but if there's no filter and they're all just shitting and eating, I'm sure the shit doesn't flow away from their mouth fast enough.
I don't think that they've got concrete pools where they put fish. And
the main thing is you eat some wild salmon, you eat some farm salmon, and then you see the difference. You automatically know what is what. But that's different to beef, because if you eat grain-fed beef to grass-fed beef is actually tastier.
Because it's more fatty.
Well, yeah, that's probably it, is it? Because it's more fatty? No,
it is, because it's more fatty, yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah. So anyway.
So that's just your...
Also, the colour of farm salmon is really pale and fucking flaky, and it's not as bright fucking salmon colour.
Yeah, probably because of the loss of biodiversity in the ecosystem.
Yeah, probably. Fuck 'em.
See, I told you.
Fuck 'em. I want profit.
All right. How do you feel about moving on to pollution?
Well, aren't we on climate change? Yeah.
No, then we'll go to climate change.
I didn't even do anything on pollution.
That's all right. I don't have that much to talk about. Okay. But you'll have stuff anyway, like in the back of your head. So, pollution of the world is obviously a massive problem. Like, huge. We've got air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, nuclear pollution now. Chemical pollution from using pesticides and chemicals in our agriculture and genetically modified food. We're basically just polluting the fuck out of our environment, and it's not good for anybody, for us or for our fellow Earthlings. I think just to have a few little facts. Only 1% of China's 560 million city residents breathe air that is considered safe by the European Union.
Yeah.
That is pretty bad. Imagine growing up in a place where you have to wear a gas mask to go to work. Or, is this a world this is going to happen unless we do something? You will have to wake up and breathe through a mask to get around. And then we'll have no sky. The sky will just be clouds of dust and particles.
There's that one place, I watched that Vice documentary, I forgot what it's called, but there's one place where China has all their coal factories.
What's that city? It's called Xinjiang.
Yeah, and anyway, it's called Get the Fuck Out While You Still Can, and they're like, if you live there, it's like smoking 5 packets of cigarettes a day from...
it's so bad.
Yeah.
About 1% of the US landfill space is full of disposable diapers, which take 500 years to decompose. So I think one of the interesting topics, I actually find this topic fascinating, is waste disposal. Like, just when you probably know yourself in your own home how much waste you've got, and sometimes it blows my mind. Just two people here, Shaun, you and I, like, you know, we'll have 2 bags a week sometimes, like big, just crap. And the amount of recycling we've got, you know, you go through so much. Where is this going?
Yeah.
We're going to be doing a podcast on waste disposal, and we're going to visit a tip, hopefully, and have actually a look at where all this shit's going. I want to see with my own eyes how bad it is. And it's scary because a lot of the stuff that we produce today obviously decomposes over a long, long period of time, even thousands and thousands of years, including a lot of plastics. And a lot of it goes into the ocean. I don't know if you've seen, but there's that amazing documentary on the plastic island in the Pacific Ocean. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean in the, I think, there's some like northwestern gyre of the Pacific or something like that. But it's basically a place where the currents kind of meet in a bit of a turbulent area, like a bit of a swirl, and they just sit, this plastic just sits there, like, and it's not necessarily big chunks of plastic, it's like tiny little particles of plastic that have gotten there over years and years and years and have broken down into these minute bits, which basically have just become as small as they can be, and you can't even really see them anymore. They're just part of the ocean, and it's scary because it's just like our ocean is just plastic bits now. You know, so it's like the stuff that we're doing today, it's going to have lasting effects over years in the future, and that's the scary thing. We just don't know to what extent it's going to affect things, and how far into the cycle of life these pollutants are going to get. And like Shaun said, you know, we see nuclear effects across the world in fish that have travelled, and it's scary to think about. Another funny fact, so funny. Enough plastic eating utensils are thrown away every year to circle the equator 300 times. That's about 400 billion pounds of plastic knives, forks and spoons, the vast majority of which end up in landfills, where scientists say they'll take 500 years, give or take a couple of centuries, to decompose. So it's just stuff. We are just making crap and chucking it away, and it's just like we're drowning in our own filth. I reckon it's going to be like, I love that episode of Futurama, you know, where they that like the Earth, I think what it was, we had so much trash that we made a whole world of trash and sent it off into outer space, and I think that it comes back to like hit us or something. I always think about that. Like, we've just got so much shit, it's disgusting. So we've got the pollutions of the water, and that's such a massive problem. There's so many rivers around the world are just, I mean, are there any clean rivers anymore? You know, unless you go to the very tops of mountains or go to Fraser Island or something like that. You know,
are there any what?
Clean rivers, clean water supplies. Like, every river is just so polluted, and people's livelihoods depend on these rivers. And
apparently they were trying to make the Yarra swimmable by 2014 or something. I'm really interested to know. Yeah. Can you imagine if the Yarra was swimmable?
I'd swim in there.
That would be fucking cool, hey?
That would be really cool.
Can you imagine, like, that would be like a little beach.
That'd be really fun.
You could have, like, flags up.
That'd make Melbourne even cooler.
Yeah.
Really
but they were going to see if it was possible, but no.
So we've got, land, water pollution, air pollution, and land pollution. And Shaun, do you know much about, like, the use of pesticides and fertilizers and how that harms the environment? I mean, I don't know. If you use a common sense, I'm assuming it does, but I haven't looked that much into how it does.
Well, yeah, of course it does. Like, I mean, you have to understand where these things go after they're sprayed, and you know, that's why you've got all these massive dramas of Monsanto and possibilities of them being like the devil incarnate, because they're fucking with genetic structures, with plant life, so that you can spray, you know, in a roundabout way, so you can spray fucking weed killer on them directly, and it kills the weeds and any insects that touch them, but then humans, it's still fit for consumption when the weed killer and that is in the root system. And like, it's just so, it's like these Band-Aid solutions used, once again, like, you know, 50 years ago there was no such thing as organic food. It was just all fucking food. But now it's like you have to try and find something that's not fertilised or sprayed or pesticide, or, you know, no matter what you eat, if you're not eating, like, you know, stringently organic, and what is organic, you know, but if you're not eating stringently organic food, then